Coach Hars first, and we'll open it up to questions. We've got our mic holder today, so just holler at it.
All right. First of all, bye week was productive for us. I thought we got what we needed to get out of it. A couple good practices in pads, one practice in helmets. The guys responded well. Got a few guys that got a chance to kind of sit back and recover a little bit, from a 6-week or a 6-game stretch. We had 6 games in, I think, 37 days, and now we've got 2 games in about 28 days. So a little bit different schedule coming up here than what we've been in. But other thing that we got a chance to do during the bye week is recruit, and so that was extremely important for us to get out there and to see some of these high school players, to get out there and get a chance to see Brett Rippon play live was good. And so that's obviously something that we, throughout the year, have to continue to do, and we have chances in these bye weeks to get out there and recruit. It's extremely important for us and our coaches. The coaches did a great job of getting that set up and getting out there and seeing quite a few guys during the Friday, Saturday. This week, Friday games were fun. I enjoy those. We got the next couple games will be on Friday nights. Enjoy that they're at home as well. And the cool thing about this week in particular, we got the Mountain West Conference champions coming to our place, and so we want to make sure that we got a great fan base there during the game, and then make sure it's loud. Make sure these guys know when they're coming on the blue that this place is a tough place to play. So the only injury report that I have for you guys today is Matt Miller. Matt Miller will have surgery on Monday to fix a ligament in his ankle. Same surgery that Shane and Ben Weaver had in the spring. And so he's going to be out. And that was a decision that we made this last week. Very tough decision on him because he wants to play. He wants to continue. He's a competitor. And talking with him and really probably if it was up to him, he would do everything he could to be on the field. It's not the best decision for him, so we want to get him healed up and make sure that he's feeling healthy as some of these things down the road come up for him and his furthering his career in football. With that, we'll talk about Fresno. I can tell you a bunch of stats, but in this game in particular, you can kind of throw those out in the Boise State, Fresno State games. It really doesn't matter. They're a competitive team. They're very well coached, and we're excited about having them here. We're excited about getting a chance to play these guys at home, and I know our kids are looking forward to it after a tough game last year when they played at Fresno State. A couple things on their offense. Brian Burrell, quarterback. I know they've kind of settled in there. Early in the first 3 games, they were back and forth there a little bit. Brian Burrell has played well, 11 TDs, 6 INTs. And the opponents they played in the first 3 games, you can kind of look at that and statistically and throw that out. Those are good teams while the team's trying to figure it out. Spread, go fast type offense. They're going to mix up their plays, run and pass, but you're going to see some tempo from this team. Josh Harper, wide receiver, has played well this year, 47 catches. That guy has done a very good job of making plays for these guys. And there are 2 backs, Martez, a guy that's had almost 700 yards, 5 TDs, kind of a downhill guy, and they've got a mixture with those 2 backs in there. But offensively, you see fast spread, pitch it around, and a guy that can run, and a quarterback that's kind of getting into his groove right now. Defensively, 3-4, zone pressure. I've got a chance to see this defense at A&M when I was at Texas, so I got a chance to kind of see that firsthand. But you get a lot of different type of pressures, and you don't really quite know where it's coming from. So to try to dial that in, that's the goal this week for our offensive staff. They've got a couple players, Deron Smith, who was a 2-year first-team Mountain West player, was a preseason defensive player picked this year. Davison, the D lineman, he's been a 2-time All-Mountain West selection, and so he's a big guy up front that's made plays for those guys. On special teams, Garrett Swanson, he handles both kickoffs and punts. He's probably one of the best guys coming back, from this last year. So you'll see on special teams, aggressive coverage, good speed, you know, a lot similar to us. I think they're safe, sound, do a lot of good things on special teams, play their good players on there, and they try to create, you know, field position by that. So our guys have prepared well, you know, during the bye week to kind of get themselves ready for this week. Our practice schedule is a little bit different: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's kind of our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice. But normal routine for us. Affects school a little bit for these guys, but I think we're into a groove now and feel good about going to this Friday game. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
You mentioned Matt, obviously, is he out for the season? And if so, I mean, how tough is that for his career to come to an end in those regards, especially 15 yards short of the school record, you know, for receiving yards?
Yeah, as far as right now, I mean, unless he's an incredible healer, he'll be out for the rest of the season, you know, and that was a decision. As far as the stats go, yeah, I think for all of us, other than Matt, we probably care about it. He really doesn't. You know, he's a player. That's something that we've talked about. We think towards the end, maybe in one of these games, we can, you know, just roll him out there and set him out there about 16 yards and just throw one at him and let him catch it. So we're trying to plan that out. But it's obviously a tough loss, one for him personally, because this is what, you know, Matt is a guy that loves playing the game. And so to start with him, it's probably more, it probably hurts him the most than it does anybody else. So that's the tough thing. And then, too, yeah, it hurts our football team. He's a leader. He's a captain. He's a guy that's very productive for us and does so many things off the field. So he won't be playing for us, but he's going to be helping us. You know, so he'll be around here. He's going to be a part of what we're doing. So the best thing we can do for him is love him up and get him healthy, and then hopefully, you know, he has a chance to go on to the next level and get himself prepared for that. Because, quite frankly, he's a guy that can play at that level, and he's proven that, and he needs to get himself prepared for that.
You mentioned you got to see Rippon play, and we haven't talked to you since you were able to talk about him. So can you tell us a little bit about Brett Rippon and why you guys are excited about him, and maybe what you saw from him when you see him play?
Yeah, I can tell you it's a little awkward talking about him, to be honest with you. You know, the way this rule is, but it is what it is. It was good. You know, Coach Sanford and I got a chance to go to a game, get a chance to see him play, and you know, obviously like him. You know, I think he's got a lot of potential. You know, he's going to continue to develop. He's a smart guy. He understands the game. He's into it. You know, Dad's the offensive coordinator there, so they're obviously talking football quite a bit. So, you know, the nice thing about, you know, getting a chance to watch him is you see a guy that's very competitive and enjoys playing the quarterback position, that we're going to be able to get him here in spring and get a chance to work with him. And those two factors right there get us excited about, you know, Brett and having him here.
What are the advantages of obviously doing this? And talking with Brett, he said that, you know, he's pushing to maybe get a playbook or something like that. Maybe it's a little bit of install. Can you guys allow that, or?
I'll be honest, I don't know all the ins and outs yet. This is still fairly new rule, and it's new to me, you know. And so, is it an advantage? Yes. Why doesn't everybody do it? Because there's also issues if a guy doesn't come here, you know, then there's also rules in there that can be broken because of that as well. So you got to make sure that you got a relationship with a particular player, and this is going to be a done deal. All right. And so is it kind of like an early signing? Maybe, you know, but you're not going to be able to do that very often. And I think the issues are if guys don't come, then you've got problems. And so why wouldn't somebody go out there and sign all the guys first to have all these opportunities to talk about them and have unlimited communications? Well, it doesn't mean they're going to come to your place. So you got to make sure you got an established relationship, which we do. You feel good about that he's going to be here, and that's a solid deal, which we do. And yeah, so it's nice to be able to call him when you want, talk to him, to be able to text, to be able to go see him, to talk about him, and really push this thing forward like that relationship should be. You're kind of wiping all those rules out, and then we'll get him here, and it makes it good for everybody.
Back to Matt Miller. Grant said basically that Miller's absence has actually helped him go through his progressions, because he's not always looking for number two, and he goes through his progressions, and he thinks it's made him actually a little better.
Yeah, his roommate's not playing on the field anymore. So, yeah, I think Matt has something to do with that as well. Hey, first read is me. It has. Well, and let me say this, too. In Matt's absence, other guys have stepped up. And to be honest with you, I mean, as a competitor and a player, when one of your teammates and a player as productive as Matt goes down, you want to be the next guy that's going to step in and fill his shoes. Now, Troy had a big game. Spurbeck has played well. Shane stepped up. Tight ends continue to grow in the offense. So everybody's elevated their game. And the one thing I told the team, it's not like Thomas Spurbeck has to come in and be Matt Miller. Everybody that's played, including the defensive players, guys that have played for us and started, they need to step up and play better, not just the one guy replacing him. And so I think the guys took that upon themselves. Everybody elevated their game. And obviously the guys that have filled in, Jeremy McNichols, coming in there and playing as well and providing a spark for us. We're going to try to be as productive, just do it a different way.
You said no injury other injury updates, but Mercy Maston, have you guys made a decision whether you're going to play him this year or redshirt?
Be honest with you, it'd probably be this week when we make that decision, what we're going to do. This was kind of the point where we felt like this Fresno game, because we had a bye week leading into it, if he's ready to roll and we need him, let's play. If he's not, now, that doesn't mean 2 games down the road we don't need him. But we'd like this to be a point to where he's going to play or he's going to redshirt. And so, if he's not playing, probably going to be in a redshirt mode. If he is playing, we're rolling at that point.
When you look at Fresno, both sides of the ball, what do you think the thing that stands out to you that they do best on each side of the ball?
Well, I think the tempo on offense, they once they get going, they get that first down, you can really see it pick up. If they're able to hit some of those quick throws and create those type of plays, the first downs, that continues. They get themselves into a rhythm. They're very rhythmic on offense, and they do it very well. And then on defense, I think it's just multiple. You're getting a bunch of different looks from safeties, from linebackers, different blitz looks. So it's hard to get a bead on exactly what you might get that week because they game plan that as well. The thing you have to do is you got to do a great job of kind of keying on a couple guys in there to see if they're going to tip their hand a little bit. But I've watched that, and they self-scout and they correct those things, in the next couple games as well. So it's a chess match on the defensive side, and then special teams. I think they're similar to us. Some of their guys on special teams, they play hard, they play fast, they play with speed, and you can tell that these guys, kind of their process and discipline and all that shows up in how they play.
Talked to you obviously a little bit about Jeremy McNichols after last game, but when did you guys kind of make that decision throughout the course of the week leading up to Nevada that you were going to burn his red shirt? And you also mentioned that you might try to find ways to maybe get a little more involved through the bye week. Were you guys able to do that?
Yeah, I won't answer that one yet.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
We do want to get him more involved. I mean, that's just going to be the progression of, where he's at. I think the decision in practice, he was on the scout team, made a jump cut, made 3 guys fall down, and we said we probably should play him at this point. He's a guy he's a good football player. We felt like that, and I think, Coach Riddle's done a great job with him of just helping him with everything, college life, school, all those things that freshmen, when you're young, you got to figure out. And he seems to be in a good rhythm. He seems to be feeling good about where he's at, just life-wise. So it's time to, all right, let's see if we can get him on the field. And it was his decision. It was family's decision. Hey, are you ready to do this? Having a few guys dinged up as well. Matt obviously having him dinged up, and where we're going to get some production. And here's a guy that we think can create it for us, which he did in the game. That had something to do with it as well.
One more Matt Miller question. He was very engaged on the sideline at Nevada. Are you going to take him on the remaining 2 road trips, and is he going to be kind of an assistant coach of sorts?
Yeah, if we can, yes. If we have a number limit in there, but if we can take him, we'll take him. I think throughout the week, Jeremy was right in his hip pocket throughout the week, and Spurbeck and those guys. And Matt's a guy that, he wants to. He's not going to ever pull himself away from something. He wants to be right in there. So yeah, Coach Miller was getting those guys dialed up, for that game, and then we wanted to have him, for that reason. In between series, let him talk to those guys, let him kind of see what he sees, and obviously having him out there because that's kind of a respect factor for him too. He's done a lot for us. He's banged up. He can't play, but he can still continue to help this team. So if we can take him on trips, unless we need somebody, we'll do that.
You mentioned the Fresno State offense, and I don't know if it's a product of losing Derek Carr and all those guys, but I know they've had a couple struggles here and there. From maybe your opinion, what do you maybe associate that to, and have you noticed that at all?
Well, I would associate that in college football and any NFL, high school, doesn't matter. You lose a quarterback like that, you lose production. It is what it is. Carr's a great player, and so they're obviously trying to figure out, and they did early on in the year, who's going to be the guy, how's it going to look, how's it going to be different. This isn't Carr anymore. How do we adapt to this player? And I think they've done that. But the philosophy's still there. You don't scrap everything you're doing. You get that next player up to speed with what you want, and then you tweak it to fit him a little bit better. So probably a little more sluggish than they were last year, but where they are in the season now and I think where they're going, that's just – we wouldn't take that for granted. That's too scary of an offense because they can go put up 35 points in about a quarter and a half in a hurry. And so you got to obviously be aware of that when you're playing them.
Tyler Gray's been kind of lost in the shuffle there at linebacker a little bit, playing in sort of a backup role. But probably your two biggest pass defense plays by a linebacker this year have been him. So what does he do that to get to the ball the way he's been able to?
Yeah, I don't know if he's been lost. I mean, he's made big plays. Like we talked about before, we've got good players at that position in the rotation. It's different. And, Tyler's a guy that in practice, he's made that play in practice. He's one of those guys that happens in practice. It usually happens in the game. So he continues to be productive. But he's just getting better, with Vallejo, Weaver, Blake, those guys in there playing. I mean, there's a strategy to when they're in and when they're not in, too, according to what we think we're going to get. So he keeps getting better, keeps making plays, and, if he's lost in the mix, I'll take interceptions for touchdowns every game. So will he.
What has this Fresno rivalry meant to you in your time as a Bronco, a guy that bleeds blue? I mean, you have to have some passionate thoughts about Fresno State.
Yeah, it goes back to when I played. We lost, and I was on the field playing when Sweeney won his 200th game. I remember all the balloons and the hoopla and getting pushed around and shoved out of there for everybody to celebrate his win. So if you want to take it clear back to that, I mean, Fresno, Boise State, you just go back to all the different games. I mean, it's a team that we've competed against. We compete against them in a lot of other areas in recruiting. We see them all the time. I've always, as a coach, respected the guys that are on the staff there as coaches and as recruiters and people. So I think it's two good football teams, and last year they had a very good team, a very good quarterback, and they played very well. And Tim DeRuyter, I know the type of coach he is, where he comes from and all that, so he has those guys well coached. But, yeah, it elevates, when you play them. There's a rivalry there, whether you want to say it or not, but there's some energy between these two teams, and they get excited, we get excited, and the games that have been played over the past have been a whole lot of fun and very competitive, and it's been fun to prepare for them and watch our guys go out there and play against them.
You've had plenty of experience coaching on Saturday games. Just what's the biggest difference between a game on Saturday and a game on any other day of the week?
Yeah, I think the one thing about the Fridays or the Thursday games, that you're the only show, maybe one other team, which makes it fun. So I think players enjoy that. They know that there's not much football going on other than you, so I think guys enjoy that. As far as the prep goes, not much different. Especially for us, coming off a bye, we're kind of into our routine. It's Monday for us right now, and that's how we treat it. If you're coming off a Saturday game and playing on a Friday, that quick turnaround where you got to flip it, that's where you get a little bit of a problem. Because depending on how physical the game was prior, you don't have much recovery time, and then the coaches are right back into game planning. So that's probably the biggest difference. But Fridays are fun because it's, you're on your own out there for the most part. Saturday's filled with, everybody.
The one thing kind of missing a little bit this year has been consistency, and how do you kind of even things out here these last 6 games and get a little more consistent performance?
From who in particular?
Just team overall.
Yeah.
Team.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that starts to happen. College football is interesting. You go back to last year and Coach Mullen at Mississippi State, they probably wanted to fire him, and now he's the #1 team in the country. So, that's how it is. And I think everybody's trying to be as consistent week to week. You don't know exactly what you're going to get from your opponent, and sometimes you go out there and play. Things don't go your way. Auburn, 2 turnovers in the first 2 plays, and you got to be able to fight through that. Bad things are going to happen in sports, and you got to be able to overcome that. That's the maturity of a team. That's some leadership. That's also preparing for that. Without saying it, bad things will happen. How do we handle it? So I think for us, I was pleased with the Nevada game, how we responded back and forth. Okay, we could have been down. We fought back. We didn't finish the game out offensively. We had to put our defense on the field. Could have lost the game, but they stepped up. And, that was more in the right direction as far as being consistent from just handling the entire game. So I don't know what's going to happen Friday, as far as how the game's played out. But I'd like to see us more consistent in handling how the game flows, the ups, the downs, and just playing. So to me, if we practice like we did the week before and just get a little bit better in practice this week and we carry that into the game, that's probably more the consistency that we need week to week. And that remains to be seen. It showed up in the bye week. Practices were good. I thought the players, we got better each one of those 3 practices. Now, this week, do we get better in the 3 practices? That'll say a lot about how the game goes for us.
You mentioned that you guys don't leave town for like a month. How can you take advantage of this stretch? And is it nice that you have a bye, 2 home games, another bye? Is it nice to have games kind of in moderation, especially when you don't have to leave the state?
We'll see. That's one thing. You kind of get into a rhythm there, and what we got to do is be creative. It's going to be a lot easier from the Fresno to BYU because you're kind of into a flow there. And those are going to be 2 physical games. We know that. So that bye week coming after will be good. It'll be a chance to get out and recruit again, which we need to during this time. So I don't think it's actually a bad thing. It's just different. And, we'll take advantage of it. But I know for our guys, football, life, and all that, it'll help them. They're here. There's not any travel. So they can get themselves, back on track with some other things too. So before we finish that last, I think it's a 4-game stretch at the end, 2-2 away and back here. Good.
Jake Rowe, just his development, obviously, in the passing game, and he's been kind of a monster for you guys on 3rd downs, too.
Yeah, you tweeted that. Yeah, saw that. That was a good stat. We used that as well. Yeah, the 3rd downs, our tight ends, Holden had a big catch in the game. I think Jake had a couple, maybe 3 in the game there. He had the touchdown. So those guys, Jake, Holden, Hardy, Alec, we're trying to keep getting those guys in the mix. And what I did like about the last game is, the ball got spread out. The tight ends, the backs, J-Mac, there was a lot of guys that touched the ball, and I think that helped us. Now that doesn't mean that's going to happen every game, and that's kind of how the game turned out. But when all those guys are touching it and making plays behind it, then you've got some good variety, on the offensive side. So definitely involve the tight ends and hope to see those guys keep getting better. Good? Okay.